Welcome to part 2 of my video on Brazil. I would greatly appreciate it if you watched part 1. I guess you don't have to. I'm not forcing you or anything. I would never do such a thing, but pretty please. I figured we start with Ford since they started the auto industry in Brazil by building Model Ts and TTs there. To understand Brazil's car culture, we have to take a brief look at what their government and economy looked like. See, Brazil had three things: coffee, sugarcane, and rubber. Pedro II was dethroned in a military coup led by Deodoro de Fonseca, who weirdly turned around and named the country the Republic of the United States of Brazil. I don't know what that's about. I guess maybe he was just a fan, Ruled for 4 years. There were military revolts. Someone set up 3 branches of government, said women and illiterate couldn't vote, which was over half the population. And coffee farmers ruled. The exchanges of favors also happened among politicians and big landowners. They used the power to control the votes of the population in return for favors. From the 1890s to the 1930s, there were revolts, and Getulio Vargas gained control in 1930. During this time, as far as I understand, Brazil continued to industrialize and strengthen ties with America. What did this mean for cars? Well, for the roads that could be driven on, they were occupied by the few that could afford to import a car, whom chose to import a big old American barge. Oh, and Model Ts and trucks. They were work trucks. They had stuff like that. In 1957, Ford kicks off some serious production with the F600 medium-duty truck that had a Y-block of sorts. In 58, they started selling pickups in form of the F100 and introduced the F350 light truck in 59. The 58 F100 was a 53 F100 in America, had a V8 motor, and was a truck, The second gen dropped in 62, and it came with a leisure trim model with a softer ride. They did this because they noticed people started wanting nicer trucks. This is when things started to get weird as well. They made a double cab. They made a double cab that had 3 doors, and it seemed to be the start of Brazil's car truck obsession. In 67, they conceived Willys Overland, along with the Arrow, the Jeep, the rural pickup, and the Renault 12 project becoming the Corcel. You see, the 50s is when the auto industry really started to pop off. They started making cars for normal people to afford and buy, like the Willys Arrow, the VW Fuchsia, the Simca Chambord, DKW Vimag, Jeeps, the Toyota Bandeirantes, the Land Cruiser, I'm sorry. Hell, Chevy saw Ford's F100 and decided they could do one better, making their own truck for the Brazilian market, the 3100. Yeah, they even went as far as to make a 4-door wagon version advertised as something to do with a school run-in on Brazil's rugged roads. Too bad that idea never caught on. Let's just gallop over to the mid-60s. Gallop. You ever hear anybody say gallop anymore? I feel like someone that says gallop, you immediately profile. It's they got some sort of thing in their head. Flash forward to the mid-60s. Life is good, as it can be, being a South American country dealing with American imperialism. Promise you I'm literate. I promise you I'm a literate person. I swear. This dude, Janio da Silva Quadros, was elected president, and at the time, and all the time, for as long as time existed, there has been this land somewhere far away from my trailer that, according to a book from even longer ago, says belongs to this group of people. Now, 6 million of these people were murdered cold-blooded for the crime of existing. But good news, the USA and the Soviet Union saved the day. And what would make a better cherry on top than to give them their own country to call their own, on the land that their book says is theirs? But the thing was, there was already people living on that land. People already had homes, families, established lives, and communities on that land. How do you morally kick someone out of their home that they've known their whole life? As you can imagine, this started some fighting that had been going on and off since. Funny how this somehow ties to why we have goofy ass Brazilian cars through the 80s and 90s, but it does. Flash forward a little bit, there's tensions between Israel and Egypt. Israel was trying to get into Egypt, so the UN sent troops out, and peacekeepers from all over the world, including Brazil, to ensure Israeli troops left peacefully. The U.S. played no sides in this whatsoever. They were just hanging out in the area with some naval vessels. Egypt ordered the removal of UN troops. Israel then saw their chance and invaded, sparking the Six-Day War. One Brazilian peacekeeper was killed by Israeli forces, and Israeli forces also weirdly attacked the USS Liberty. Life sure is nice out here, isn't it?
Yeah, damn.
It's nice being impartial out here. We're not doing any work. We just here. You know what I'm saying?
Wait, no, you just sprayed that shit with stuff.
These damn Egyptians, we said we was impartial, don't they understand? They're white people! Ain't no way, bro. We're on your side!
And then afterwards, Israel was like, "I'm sorry, Papa." And then the U.S. government was like, "It's okay, Johnny. That's coming out of your allowance, though." Anyways, back to Juanio Quadros. The United States was not happy with him siding against them, something new for the Brazilian government. But TJ, how could Juanio have sided against the United States if you yourself said the U.S. didn't pick a side? They were just hanging out, eating freedom fries. As you can see, the United States participated in this obscure action military strategists and political analysts like to refer to as lying. May 23rd, President Johnson secretly authorized supplying Israel by air with a variety of arms systems, even when an embargo on weapons shipments was placed on the Middle East. So what did this mean for Juanio? Was he, taken care of?
Nah, fuck that. I'm out. I'm done. I resign.
No, he unexpectedly resigned, citing foreign and terrible occult forces in his for fuck's sakes. His resignation caused political turmoil and eventually led to a 1964 coup that the United States definitely had nothing to do with. I promise, just like how they were impartial during the Six-Day War. They played no part in this coup. They were just playing. They were just hanging out with their brother Sam on the Brazilian coast, playing with an aircraft carrier and 6 destroyers for funsies. This led to a brutal military dictatorship that lasted until '85. Anyways, I know you come here to escape politics, not to hear more about it. But what did all this political mumbo jumbo mean for the cars? I got conflicting info on this, but essentially the military dictatorship introduced a complete import ban. So for cars, that meant the big companies had no competition and could continue to sell the same 1960s car up until the mid-80s and even the 90s, which in turn inspired smaller companies to become more radical and outlandish with their designs to compensate. At the same time, cars were becoming more popular and accessible. Therefore, the amount of people with boy autism buying cars and thinking, "Hey, how fast can I drive this car?" was growing. And you can see that in the cars being sold at the time. Willys brought over the Alpine, I still don't know how to say it. I never really looked it up. The A108 called the Willys Interlagos. The F&M, who until now was manufacturing Italian trucks in Brazil, partnered with Alfa to sell the Alfa 2000 as the F&M 2000, which, due to Mustangs being illegal to import, they redesigned the Alfa to look like a 65 Mustang, kinda. Puma introduced the GT, which was, I believe, originally built on a Carmanguia platform and then switched to the Brasilia platform. Chevy brought over the Rekford as the Opala and sold SS versions. Brzinka sold the Brzinka DT 4200 Uiparu. I'm sorry, dude. I'm like a dumb white guy. Like y'all, I can't even speak English properly. I can't speak my own language properly. Like y'all asking me to do something here that's above my pay grade. Dodge bought Simca and started selling the Dart. Come into the 70s, and well, remember that 6-day war where Israel invaded and claimed land from Egypt? Well, Egypt wanted that land back and started the Yom Kippur War. America at the time was open with their support of Israel. In response, the Organization of Arab Petroleum Exporting Countries, OAPEC, announced that it was implementing a total oil embargo against countries that had supported Israel at any point during that war. I guess being known as the United States of Brazil did not help them in this case. This made Brazil aware of the dangers of being dependent on oil and began a government campaign to push ethanol as the main fuel source. Programa Nacional do Álcool. This essentially meant that all cars would be required to run on at least a 20% ethanol, 80% gas mix, and influence automakers and the public to make/buy cars that run on pure ethanol, E100. One of the first cars to be able to run E100 was the Fiat 147. Their abundance of sugarcane made this seemingly impossible task elsewhere easy. Easy peasy lemon squeegee. Also, they didn't have automakers as much up their butt, weirdly, even though it was a fucking military dictatorship that was still sucking America's dick. They weren't as capitulant to automakers and companies as America is. It fucking boggles my mind. So, yeah, they could do shit like that and weren't forced into like electric cars immediately. This made Brazil energy independent and one of the largest producers of ethanol in the world, given that sugarcane gives a larger yield than corn would. Whatever the fuck that means. This also had the unfortunate side effect of reducing pollution in the city and greenhouse gases, as ethanol burns cleaner than gasoline. I mean, it's fucking win after win after win. Higher compression ratios. Fucking the only L is worse gas mileage, bro. I will continue to suck ethanol's dick till the day I die. I don't care what you say, bro. I'm blowing bubbles on that shit. Anyways, back to the trucks. All through the 60s until the 1970s, they sold the 59 F100. In 71, they introduced the 67 to 72 5th gen F-150s that sold until 92. You could get this fine auto in a 272 V8 or a Lima 2.3. That's right. That's a full-size truck with a Lima 2.3 in it, with gas and ethanol versions. Now, if you wanted some more punch, you had to get Brazil's new truck, the F1000. What's the F1000? It's the same truck with different engine options. 221 straight six with gas and ethanol options again, and a choice between a 3.9 i4 diesel or that same diesel with a motherfucking turbo on it. No intercooler though. Chevy replaced the Amazonia with first gen C10s with reworked sheet metal called D10s. They even made 5-door Suburbans called Veranios, which were powered by a 4.1 liter i6. These then got replaced by Chevy D20s/C20s/A20s. D20s being the diesel, C20s being the gas, A20s being the ethanol. These weirdly looked like Bizarro S10s, even though they were built on the square body platform. You had 3 different turbo diesel options, and 1 gas ethanol option, the Turbo Thrift 250, that 4.1 i6. So these acid trip square bodies were sold until 96. We were well into OBSs by that time. OBSs? Obese? I don't know. Weirdly, Brazilian companies took these Fords and Chevys and ran wild. I mean, infinitely different and crazy versions of these trucks. You want a motherfucking 4-door truck? They got you. You want a motherfucking 2-door with a rear cab and a funky conversion van windows? They got you. You want a conversion van? They got you. You want a conversion van truck, like a smaller Centurion thingy? They got you. Hell, maybe you want a Super Duty Ford Focus? They got you. You want just a fucking van but like for some reason it's got to be built on a fucking Ford chassis, they got you as well. They went absolutely nutty with it, and I'm not sure why. Either way, I appreciate them for it. Companies like Sol Americana, SR Special Vehicles, Tropical Cabinets, I appreciate them for letting their creativity truly flow. Now that we've hyper-focused on trucks, which I weirdly have a tendency to do, even though I don't own a truck, and the only truck I did own had Dayton's and a C-notch. Couldn't even put stuff in the bed, there was a big ass hole in it. Let's switch back to cars, because that's what most normal Brazilians bought, was a car. A small car at that. Back to that boy autism comment. They started racing these cute little cars. You know about the Interlagos already, and the Puma GT. Volkswagen made the SP2, which was built on a VW Type 3 pan and had a 1.7 liter air-cooled pancake that would do 100 flat and get you to 62 in 17.4 seconds. But I mean, look at it, right? You get it, right? The F&M 2000, the Brzinka, and this is about the time big companies gave up due to the import ban. So just like the trucks, little companies went mad. There was the Bianco S, which was built on the Fuchsia pan and made 65 horsepower. But again, look at it. Le Automobile Ventura, which was built on a VW Brasilia pan, which was a widened Carmagia pan, as far as I know. I might be wrong. It had a Type 3 motor and was slower than the SP2. Then there was the Forest ML-929, which was a mid-engine door stopper that could be had with a weak Fiat 4-banger, a less weak VW Passat motor, and eventually the Chevy Monza 4-cylinders. Plans were to bring it to America with a Chrysler Turbo 2.2, but it never happened. There was the Dardo, which is but isn't an X19. I mean, you decide. It had a 147 rally powertrain. Brazil's version of the Dome, the Hofstetter Turbo, inspired by the Alfa Carabo concept. These had a 1.8 VW Passat motor that got a Garrett turbo, pushing it to 140 horsepower. Later models got the Santana motor 2.0 with a turbo as well, making 210 horsepower. Everybody, ooh, ah. The Santa Maltide, I don't know, which was a GT car, featured that 4.1 Chevy motor, making 171 horsepower and pushing that car to 111 miles an hour. And it was smoking out there. There was the Miura, no, not that, the Miura, which could talk. Yes, it could talk to you. This car was another GT car that was made in many different versions. You could get tall ones, you could get short ones, you could get convertible ones, you could get winged ones, but all of them were built on the Brasilia floor pan and had 1.8 motors making same bullshit power. The Aurora 22C, which looks like what happens when an off-brand toy company can't get the licensing for a Ferrari F40. It had a Chevy Monza motor, bored and or stroked to 2.2 liters and given a turbo, making 214 horsepower. But by the time this car came out, even in Brazil, it was old-fashioned. So only 5 ended up being sold. The Puma GTB AMV, which was built on an Opala chassis in parts, so it had that 4.1 again, you'll be seeing a lot of. F&M had the Furia, built on the 2150 chassis. It was inspired by the Jarama and could do 105 or 0 to 62 in a stunning 13 seconds. Man, that one was fast. Some hatches that came out were the Fiat 147 and subsequent pickup, the Fiat Uno, the VW Gol and Severo pickup. Sticking with weird trucks, Reina made the Formigao, which, yeah, I mean, right? Elon hasn't had an original idea, I swear to God. I got conflicting info, so I don't know if it's built on a Fuchsia floor pan, a Type 3 floor pan, or a Brasilia pan, but it does have a Type 3 motor, as far as I know, in the bed. Motorsports also grew along with the tracks. Interlagos circuit was the first, which hosted the Milhas de Brazil, on and off since 1956. Then came the Autodromo Internacional de Criobieta in 67, which would go on to host many events. Over the years, Brazil would spawn 21 more track/street circuits, 4 of them being named after Ayrton Senna. One circuit, Autodromo Internacional Virgílio Tavora, is literally to scuba. You can't deny that's to scuba. Even the rework. They said, teacher gonna notice, change it. And still, look at it. But who stole who? Brazil dropped theirs in 69. Japan started work in 66, but didn't finish till 1970. So, Formula One, which, if you don't know, is a racing championship where they race things around tracks all around the world. Formula One started hosting the Brazilian Grand Prix at Interlagos Circuit in 71. This and Ayrton Senna made all of Brazil monolithically F1 fans. All of them. Every single one of them. You know. Stock Car Brazil came out in 79 to replace Division 1, which I can find zero info about whatsoever. Like, absolutely nothing. Therefore, I will not be talking about it. Every Google search comes up with either F1 or football. Apparently, Chevy's Opalas dominated the Mavericks in Division 1, and popularity was dropping, also because, F1 was way cooler at the time. It's subjective, but either way. GM started Stock Car Brazil and created a dedicated shared chassis being the Chevy Opala, and later the Omega. A couple companies like Toyota and Mitsubishi later dipped their toes, but the water was too cold and never ended up warming up. In 03, they replaced those ancient i6s with Chevy V8s from the States. Stock cars ended up evolving to look like your average touring car and is still around, but always struggled to compete with the popularity of F1 and F3. And as of 2025, they will be switching to crossovers. So, yeah. The Campeonato Brasileiro de Marcas e Pilotos, I don't know, started in 83 and was a race series that focused on cars that everyday people drove. Not your fucking hot rods that the rich douchebags drove like the Pumas, Opalas, and Mavericks. No, we're talking little toy cars, little Fiats, little 147s, little Golds, little Unos, little Ford Escorts, Chevy Corsas, good old shitbox racing. The idea was the classic win on Sunday, sell on Monday, but I think what made it work is the daily aspect. Imagine a race series where you got Corollas, Versas, Mirages, Fiestas, and Sonics with nothing but suspension, tires, and a roll cage, racing around like Road Atlanta, VIR, Long Beach, etc. I'd pay to see that. I heard a story I roughly translated off of Blog du Carelli that during the 6 hours of Interlagos in 84, they allowed fans to buy pit passes, causing a mass of fans in the pits, making a debacle so bad that one of the drivers ended up running over the race director.
Você precisa fazer pit stop.
Pit stop.
Yeah, the championship left in 09 to be rebranded as Brasileiro de Marcas in 2011 and to ride along until 2018, I think. I don't know, and then there's Marcas Brazil Racing, which looks like the same thing, but I don't know if it is or not, and they still do that to this day. I'm not gonna lie, it's a hard video to research. It doesn't help that Google's fucking dog water now. But anyways, amidst my complaining, to summarize, Brazil has been one of America's allies for a long time, and the one time they didn't side with the US, we overthrew their government and installed a military dictatorship that would go on to ban all imports, allowing big automakers to be lazy. That's why you can buy 60s and 70s American cars up until like the late 80s and 90s over there, brand new. and at the same time made the smaller, more passionate Brazilian auto companies go absolutely mad, go fucking berserk with their creations, fever dreams, whatever the heart could desire to make up for it. And that's why you got these goofy ass Brazilian cars and trucks through the 80s and 90s. That's why. Ford and Chevy straight six motors, which are popular in drag racing. Little ass hot hatches slammed off their nuts on big rims with little to no camber, blasting funk. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Chances are I got some shit wrong, so don't be afraid to tell me. I'm just a dumb white guy. Help me out here. Anyways, I love you. Goodbye.
Come on. So we're all gonna slide in. We're basically all gonna slide in. Like, oh, we're under attack. Ah, like that.
Without shiesties?
Without shiesties.
Bro, why you
No shiesties.
Without shiesties?
Crazy. Starting on the floor, bro.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
No, you gotta dive down. Cause like, we just heard the explosion.
Is it mine?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm telling you, in post credits.
Get the fuck off the ground. Cody, I swear to God.
No, I'm gonna be like already there, like.
But you don't.
Y'all
Get
are
off the
gonna,
ground though. You have to like slide into it. You gotta slide into it.
no,
brother.
y'all are gonna slide into it. I'm already here. You know what I'm
Why are
saying?
you already there? Want to go? These guys are fucking stupid, and they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. But David's been arguing with me over, and it's kind of pissing me off. Davey and Baker, bro, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, bro. No, the glasses is stuck in my hair now. Hold on. 5, 4, 3, 2, action. I know you see sometimes words change me and be so wonderful. Ding ding. Alright, we going back. It's all for real. Tell you now, yeah. Stop it. I don't want to joke about death. It's not funny. I don't understand why it's funny.